This stunning waterfall is located in the town of Rio Verde, about 17 kilometers to the east of Baños de Agua Santa, more commonly known as Baños. Located on the Rio Pastaza, the waterfall is part of the Ruta de las Cascadas, or the route of the waterfalls. There are about 5 or 6 big waterfalls located along the river, which makes this route a very popular one to complete. Visitors normally visit Pailon del Diablo last, as it's located at the end of the route. We found it very similar to the waterfall hike in Mindo. Pailon del Diablo translates to the Devil's Cauldron. Apparently you can see the shape of the devil's face in the rocks. We couldn't quite see the skull in the rocks, but that doesn't mean it's not there if you know where to look. The waterfall is about 80 meters or 262 feet tall and has a pool depth of 20 meters or 65 feet. It's super powerful and definitely one of the most impressive waterfalls we saw in Ecuador. Pailon del Diablo has outstanding flora and fauna, and your entry fee goes towards preserving this special ecosystem. What makes Pailon del Diablo even more unique is that the water from it flows into the Atlantic Ocean, despite the fact that it's way closer to the Pacific Ocean. How to visit Pailon del Diablo from Baños. Rent a bike and cycle the Ruta de las Cascadas. A popular and fun way to reach Pailon del Diablo is by bike. If you decide to cycle along the 16-kilometer route, you'll get to see a few more impressive waterfalls as well as Pailon del Diablo. Luckily, most of the way from Baños is flat or downhill, so it's not very hard to cycle. The downside is that you'll be mainly cycling along the main road, which can be slightly scary when big lorries and buses pass you. There are also a few tunnels, but you'll only have to go through the first one as there are alternate routes around the others. You can find plenty of bike rental places in the city, so there's no need to pre-book anything. It normally costs around $10 per bike for a full day. It's worth double-checking the return times though. After your visit, you can either cycle uphill back to Baños or just jump onto one of the trucks or camionetas that will take you and your bike back to the city. They normally cost less than $5, but the final price will depend on how many people the driver manages to gather for the journey. Take a Chiva bus tour to Pailon del Diablo. Probably the second most popular option for visiting Pailon del Diablo is to take one of the Chiva bus tours. These buses look more like a cross between a safari vehicle and a converted truck. Nevertheless, it's a fun and less tiring way to reach the waterfall. It's also pretty affordable, as it can cost between $5 to $10 per person, depending on where you book it. The downside, of course, is that you'll have to follow the tour route and can't stop where you want to. On the contrary, the atmosphere can be pretty upbeat, literally, as they'll be blaring out music the whole time, and you'll feel a bit like you're on a party bus, even at 10 a.m. in the morning. If that's your vibe, then it'll be a great option for you. If you're not keen on the blaring music, then you'd be better off with another method of transport. Take a local bus to Pailon del Diablo. An affordable option to reach Pailon del Diablo is by local bus. There are regular bus services leaving from Baños bus terminal to Puyo. You would need to get off in Rio Verde to visit Pailon del Diablo waterfall. The plus side of the local bus is that you won't be with a bunch of other tourists or have to sit on a party bus if you don't want to. Of course, the downside is that you'll go straight to Pailon del Diablo and will therefore miss all the other waterfalls and attractions along the way. Top tip: if you want to use the map to follow where you are, make sure to either download offline maps or purchase an eSIM or local SIM to stay connected. Take a taxi to Pailon del Diablo. The most convenient way to visit Pailon del Diablo waterfall is to take a taxi. It will give you the chance to get there pretty quickly from Baños. This is great if you're very short on time and want to fit in other attractions and activities whilst in Baños. The downside of this option is obviously the cost. Since it's a bit of a drive, expect to pay between $15 to $20 for a one-way journey. Make sure to agree on a fare before the trip and let your driver know if you want to ride back or not. The price will be higher if you want a return journey, but you can always negotiate a little. Of course, if you're splitting the cost with a few other people, then it can be a more affordable option. Pailon del Diablo entrances and entry fees. It's important to highlight that there are two different entrances to Pailon del Diablo waterfall. One is called the main entrance, and the other one is called the new entrance. They aren't connected and require separate entry fees. Both will offer a slightly different experience and views of the waterfall. New entrance, Nueva Entrada, upper part of Pailon del Diablo. The new entrance is the first one you'll arrive to if you're following the Ruta de las Cascadas. It's located just before you'd cross a colorful bridge in Rio Verde. You really can't miss it because it has a massive Nueva Entrada sign. You'll walk past some eateries before heading to the entrance kiosk to buy your ticket. Then you'll have to follow a short path which includes some wobbly hanging bridges that will lead you to the iconic view of Pailon del Diablo from above. You can appreciate just how huge the drop is and how deep the pool in front of it must be. From this point, you'll also be able to see the beautiful viewing platform and stairs carved into the side of the cliff at the main entrance. When you cross the bridge in Rio Verde, the main entrance will be just on the other side of it. You'll have to follow a trail downhill for a while before you actually reach the entrance. Once you've paid your entry fee, you'll have to follow the trail a bit further along the gorge. Don't worry, you'll be able to hear the waterfall before you see it. The main entrance takes you to the bottom of the waterfall, although there's a suspension bridge down there too, where you can get a slightly different view of it. The trail will eventually take you to the iconic man-made viewing platform that you can see from the new entrance viewpoint. Here, you can definitely admire the strength of the waterfall. If you dare and don't suffer from claustrophobia, then you can follow the tight path carved into the side of the cliff that gets you pretty much underneath the falls. Be prepared to crawl and scramble a bit and get really wet if you haven't already. Visiting Pailon del Diablo at night. As you can see, the waterfall has unusually long opening hours. You might be wondering who would pay extra to visit something in the dark. Well, after dark, the pathways in the waterfall get illuminated in brightly colored lights, which creates a very unique atmosphere. Whilst the entry fee is double the daytime cost, it's a unique experience you can consider adding to your Baños itinerary. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to return to the falls at night, but with careful planning and budgeting, you can totally make a return trip. Final thoughts on a visit to Pailon del Diablo from Baños. Pailon del Diablo waterfall was, without doubt, the most impressive waterfall we visited in Ecuador. Whilst we enjoyed our waterfall hike in Mindo, Pailon del Diablo was just mind-blowing and on another level. You could feel the mist from the fall not long after passing the entrance, which was quite a long way away. The pure force of it as we got closer reminded us just how powerful nature is. It was an incredible experience, and we're so glad that we chose to cycle the Ruta de las Cascadas to get there, which allowed us to see multiple waterfalls in one day. Have you ever been to Pailon del Diablo in Baños? If so, what was your experience? How did you get there? If not, would you add a visit to Pailon del Diablo to your Baños itinerary? Let us know in the comments below.